Yes, check the fuse.
Yes, sir. The fuse.
It was the year Charlie Chaplin satirized Adolf Hitler, a trifle too late. The year Alfred Hitchcock's first 2 American pictures were released, also the first 2 written and directed by Preston Sturges. It was the year of 2 John Ford classics based on American classics, and the year of Ernst Lubitsch's finest human comedy and Howard Hawks' fastest sex comedy, one of 3 comedies that year starring Cary Grant. And one of these was also Katharine Hepburn's first comeback. By any standard, 1940 was among the 2 or 3 peak years of the American sound film, better even perhaps than the preceding year, the year of Gone with the Wind, which so many now rank as the summit. The only year you could say might be even better than 1940 was 1941, the year of Citizen Kane. But then, as John Wayne said once in a picture, I'd hate to have to live on the difference. Speaking of Wayne, in 1940 he played the character part of a big Swede in John Ford's version of 4 one-act plays about the sea by the great Eugene O'Neill, called The Long Voyage Home, photographed by Greg Toland, who then did Citizen Kane, with a brilliant cast of character actors about the claustrophobia and heartbreak of a seaman's life. It was playwright O'Neill's own personal favorite among the films based on his dramas.
My mother's saying all her letters, you come right home. And I write back always. I come soon.
Another American stage classic serves as the basis for a Howard Hawks picture that year. Hawks had been reading with a woman friend some scenes from the hit stage play about newspapermen called The Front Page by Hecht and MacArthur. The woman doing the male reporter, Hawks doing the publisher. When it suddenly occurred to Hawks, sounds even better with a woman. And pretty soon he came up with one of his and Cary Grant's best, His Girl Friday, co-starring Rosalind Russell and Ralph Bellamy, the classic newspaper comedy romance. And Grant also appeared that year in My Favorite Wife, reteamed with Irene Dunne from Leo McCarey's The Awful Truth, with Randolph Scott, McCarey producing, Garson Kanin directing. And Cary could also be seen in the picture that returned Katharine Hepburn to her former 30s stature, The Philadelphia Story, directed by George Cukor, co-starring Jimmy Stewart, in the role for which he won the Oscar that year as Best Actor. 1940 was the year Franklin D. Roosevelt won his 3rd election as president, and Preston Sturges used the political climate to his advantage on the first movie he wrote and directed. The Great McGinty, in fact, paints the world of politics as pretty irredeemably corrupt in this funny, insightful comedy. And Sturges had another warmer comedy he wrote and directed that year, Christmas in July, co-starring Dick Powell and Ellen Drew. But the most human comedy of the year was Ernst Lubitsch's The Shop Around the Corner, co-starring Margaret Sullivan and Jimmy Stewart. My European parents spent the 30s on the continent and told me that not too long after Hitler's rise to power, it had been rumored that Chaplin was doing a parody about the Fuhrer. In fact, Chaplin used to do Hitler at parties for years before he finally did make the picture. But, as my parents remarked, he had waited too long. There were many who said that if Chaplin's work had been seen earlier, history might have been different. The Great Dictator, co-starring Paulette Goddard, was actually Chaplin's 3rd sound picture, but the first in which he actually spoke, playing 2 roles, Hinkle in Germanized gibberish, and the lowly Jewish barber who spoke for the little people. And the impending war in Europe was the background for Alfred Hitchcock's 2nd American film, Foreign Correspondent, a riveting spy thriller starring Joel McCrea. But Hitch's first American suspense picture, Rebecca, produced by David O. Selznick, won the Oscar as Best Picture of 1940. Co-starring Laurence Olivier and Joan Fontaine, the film gave Hitch one of his few nominations as Best Director. But he didn't win. Hitch never did, actually. No, the directing Oscar that year went for the 2nd of 4 times to John Ford, who'd taken a major American novel by John Steinbeck and turned it into a movie which, in its own right, was the novel's equal. The Grapes of Wrath, now 50 years old, is still perhaps the darkest, most troubling film ever to come out of the American studio system. Starring Henry Fonda and a large, brilliant cast, it mythologizes the Dust Bowl of the 30s into a powerful metaphor for America's pre-war dissolution, preparing us also for the darkness ahead.
Wherever there's a fight so hungry people can eat, I'll be there. Wherever there's a cop beating up a guy, I'll be there. I'll be in the way guys yell when they're mad. I'll be in the way kids laugh when they're hungry and they know supper's ready. And when the people are eating the stuff they raise and living in the houses they build, I'll be there, too.